tonight. McKnight tonight.
Wrong again.
McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight.
I've seen that since university.
Funny, insightful interviews. Put my watch down in your sun. McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. Here comes McKnight tonight.
Hello and welcome to McKnight Tonight for this Saturday, the 21st of June. What are you drinking tonight? Make sure you get a drink and join me, although I'm on the hard stuff tonight. This is water. I know a lot of you think I've got wine or bourbon in here. Sometimes that's true, but not tonight. It is just water, see? Or vodka. Anyway, that was good. That was a good choice, Rob. You're making good choices tonight. All right. I do have to say sorry about the late notice regarding the show last week. Many of you know it was my birthday on Friday week ago, and I forgot we had an event planned. But it wasn't to celebrate my birthday, but in fact to celebrate my daughter's best friend's birthday, Lara. You see, Lara and I are both born on June 13. And let's just say I sometimes think Lara's birthday is seen as something that's a bit more important than mine. Yes, I'm looking at you, Jasmine. She's not happy about that. Jasmine says that's not true, but I'm not so sure. Anyway, thank you for all the lovely messages. We have a big show for you tonight. Nine newsreader Tracy Vo will be joining us, plus psychic medium John Edward will be here. Yes, the man from Crossing Over. It is going to be a big one. So let's get into our hot topics. And I'd like to start tonight's show by talking about petty politics. Sometimes there's a situation the leader of our country has absolutely no say over, but the opposition of the day will try and score points from it. A prime example this week was President Trump leaving the G7 early and missing a planned meeting with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. So, was it a snub? Well, the Liberal Party thinks so. Here's what opposition leader Susan Ley had to say.
It really is disappointing that the Prime Minister has not built the relationship with the US going all the way back to the 20th of January this year that needed to be in place right here and right now. It's just not appropriate that we can only rely on a meeting on the sidelines of an international summit. But we want the Prime Minister to do well, we want the Prime Minister to succeed, and we stand ready to advance our national interests.
And Liberal Senator for New South Wales, Dave Sharma, he didn't mince his words, saying this is an abject failure of Australian diplomacy. But is it really? India, Ukraine and other countries also missed out on meeting with Trump. And according to the White House, the president left early to focus on the conflict in the Middle East. This is important stuff. We are talking about war. It is just weird that he ended up focusing his energy on putting up some flagpoles, though, at the White House.
The White House opened about 1800, a little before that, just a tad. And I've always said, why doesn't it have a flagpole from the grass? They call it a flagpole from the grass. They have a little one on top, very little one. Now this is about the largest you'll ever see, and it's tapered. It's at a quality that you guys rarely get to even put up. They do that for a living. They're incredible people. I don't know them, but I love them. And I would bet that they all voted for Trump. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I think so. But we're about to lift it, and we also have one going on what's called the front or the north. We have one going there, identical. So we'll have one on this side of the building, we'll have one on that side of the building properly placed. In this case, we had a lot of choices, putting it on that hill, putting it different places. It's such a beautiful pole, we thought we'd put it near. I mean, it always looks best when it's near a Doral. I put it right near. I have a similar pole. And these are the best poles anywhere in the country, or in the world, actually.
These are the best poles. Nobody has bigger and better poles than us. Look, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. So the fact that Trump is putting up some poles, he can do that. The optics aren't so great, of course. I mean, he's left the G7 to deal with the crisis in the Middle East, and he's very excited about putting up some flagpoles. Not a great look. Anyway, back to the main issue. Does anyone seriously think Trump was thinking about Anthony Albanese when he decided to leave the G7 summit? No, I think he was thinking about flagpoles. I don't know if this was a planned exit or whether he really was going back for the Middle East to deal with that, although that is something he could have done at the G7. I think he wanted to get back for those flagpoles. And do you think Anthony Albanese played any part, went through his mind in the slightest when he made the decision to leave the G7 summit? Of course he didn't. And it would have been the exact same result if Peter Dutton had won the election and he was our Prime Minister. The simple fact is that Australia, in Donald Trump's eyes, just doesn't play that important part of role. We have a strategic alliance with the US. We have the US as a base at Pine Gap. We have helped with the wars, Vietnam, Iraq, all that kind of, Afghanistan. We've always gone hand in hand with the US. But when Donald Trump decided to leave the G7, he didn't think, oh, will this hurt my relationship with Anthony Albanese? No, he didn't care who he was snubbing. He decided he was going to go. Maybe he didn't like the vibe he was getting. We've seen footage of politicians rolling their eyes when Trump entered the arena. The simple fact is he probably felt like he wasn't getting the respect he felt he deserved and decided to leave. That had nothing to do with Albanese. And I really don't like it when we play these petty politics with things like that. There are many other things to criticise Anthony Albanese about. I have been a big critic of the anti-siphoning list and what they have done with that. And people need to listen to me on this. And I've done many videos about it. But in a few years' time, if you're not watching TV through an aerial and you're having to pay to watch NRL or the grand final or the AFL and the AFL grand final, don't say you weren't warned. This is happening now, and Anthony Albanese is future-proofing you to have to pay for sport. Put that one in your diary. I also am not a fan of him banning under 15s from being on social media. I think it's isolating for a lot of kids. It doesn't deal with the issues of social media. There are many more things to do. You can make Meta and all those other companies tighten up the reporting strategies of getting content taken down. But what you're doing is you're punishing kids who use these platforms. I don't like it at all. And of course, you can talk about Albanese and the super tax and the economic policies he's putting in place. Criticize him to buggery on those. I'll be right there with you. But on this, on something he has no control over and that Australia wasn't even a consideration, grow the F up. We just don't have that kind of power worldwide. We're not as big and powerful as we think we are. Trump decided he was going. He didn't think about Albo. It's not a snub. It's just Trump being Trump. Get over it.
Here comes McKnight tonight.
So let me know your thoughts in the comments section of this video, and we will get to your feedback a little later. I think I've got the water off. You can tell that it's not vodka. I'd be licking it up, not just getting it with my papers. As I said, we'll get to your feedback shortly. All right. Comedian David Walliams is under fire for doing the Nazi salute 2 times during the recording of a British television show. During the taping of the BBC's Would I Lie to You, Walliams made the gestures during a segment in which a fellow panellist discussed a story about injuring their wrist while waving. Walliams reportedly joined in with increasingly vigorous waves, which culminated in him holding out his arm in a Nazi salute. The show's production company and the BBC both described the gestures as completely unacceptable and said that the segment would not be broadcast. Comedy, people. Do we not understand comedy? This is David Walliams. He's taken something about a wrist and he's ended up doing the Nazi salute. It is a completely different scenario to Elon Musk. When Elon Musk did this, and he's denied it was a Nazi salute, but it's worthy of a political discussion because it has political implications. David Walliams doing this as part of a comedy bit is not that big a deal. What's this idea that a comedian can't use Nazism as a sense of comedic value? When did that rule come in? We've been doing it ever since World War II ended. Hitler's been the butt of derogative jokes. Nazism has as well. There's been piss takes of Hitler. There's been piss takes of the war. And yet we're suddenly just, oh, It's outrageous. What was the line? Completely unacceptable, the BBC said. Why is it? If you don't like it, cut it out. But it gets out. The audience, so obviously, someone's been offended. But just because you're offended doesn't mean it's not allowed. Someone will be offended by everything. Someone will be offended by what I say on this show tonight. Doesn't make you right. Doesn't make me right, although McKnight is always right. It just means we have differing opinions. Your outrage is not a reason to suppress other people. You know, your offence does not mean things have to change. Now, if the collective group, if society as a whole says this is not acceptable, then okay. But comedians should always be fighting against that. There should be no rule to comedy. Now, was Walliams' thing funny? I don't know, but the BBC won't release the footage. And that has led to, I've seen streams of people on TikTok and social media saying, release the footage, you're protecting David Walliams, you're protecting a white man. You know, I have a feeling that if we saw this, we would actually think, oh, it's actually funny. Yes, I dare to say that David Walliams doing a Nazi salute could possibly be funny. Elon Musk, on the other hand, when he does a Nazi salute or something that resembles a Nazi salute, that is not funny. That is not funny. It's scary. David Walliams is a comedian whose whole comedy, career has been built on being outrageous and offensive. Can we please choose our battles? This is not worthy of the outrage it has caused. And I'm sure people are trying to cancel him now. He has a very good podcast he does with Matt Lucas called, what's it called? It's a podcast that is based on the fact that they talk to people and it's about their life. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to be very unprofessional and I'm going to, because I listen to it all the time. What's it called? Making a Scene. There it is. Making a Scene. It's Matt Lucas and David Walliams, and it's a great listen. They get people on and they talk about the story of their life. I'm sure people will try and cancel that now, and Matt Lucas will be under fire and told not to partake with David Walliams. And it's just like what's happening with Harry Potter. And you know what? I'll do this one next week, I think, because it is doing my head in that when actors are agreeing to take part in this new Harry Potter series, they are being targeted by J.K. Rowling haters. Because she has spoken up about the transgender community and against them, people are saying, how can you do this job? And these actors are saying, I'm doing a job. I'm taking part in a Harry Potter series. This has nothing to do with whether I like or dislike J.K. Rowling. Again, David Walliams doing a Nazi salute is not him supporting Nazism. He's doing a joke about a limp wrist. Again, I've just got to say it. We've got to get a grip. We've got to get a grip. All right. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. But now we have two big guests coming up tonight. John Edward will be here shortly. But first, it's time to meet a newsreader from the western side of Australia.
Here comes McKnight tonight.
The television industry, it seems to have forgotten how to celebrate its accomplishments. You know, it's very rare now to see specials showcasing the rich history of the medium. That's why I was very happy to hear Channel 9 has produced a special commemorating its 60th anniversary in Perth. Now, this 90-minute special is hosted by 9 News presenter Tracy Vo, who joins me now. Hello, Tracy.
Hi, Rob. Good to see you. It's been a very long time.
It has been a long time since our days at Channel 9 when they were in Willoughby in Sydney.
That's it. It's probably been like almost 20 years ago now or so. It's crazy.
I don't know about 20, maybe 10. We're not that old, Tracy.
We'll shave a couple of years off.
Absolutely. Hey, I'll get to this special in a moment because I'm really interested in that. But we brought up Sydney. You were a big part of that 9 newsroom. You were in Sydney. You were loved. And you really had to make a difficult decision to go back to your hometown of Perth, didn't you? Because of your dad at the time.
Yeah, that's right. So I've been back in Perth now for about 13 years. So it was really hard to leave the Channel 9 studios there in Sydney, and back then it was in Willoughby, and working with your good self as well. So we had such a wonderful team there. But honestly, I've been so happy coming home, being back with my family, but also being back with the Channel 9 family here, and it continues here in Perth, which has been wonderful over the last 13 years.
Were you able to transpose some of those skills you learnt in Sydney into Perth? Because they're very different markets, aren't they?
It was a huge shock, to be honest, coming from Sydney back to Perth. It was a completely different market to work with. I built an immense amount of skills over there in Sydney, working with the likes of, veteran reporters, the late and great Peter Harvey, obviously the great Laurie Oakes, and we've still got Mark Burrows, Damien Ryan. So I learned probably from the best, in my opinion.
And Rob
to
McKnight.
Come back to Perth, and Rob McKnight, of course. You are our promos king. I've been telling everyone here at the 9 Perth studios here the important role you played for Channel 9 there in Sydney all those years ago. But it's been wonderful to come back, gain that experience, but really learn about Perth. And I left Perth for 10 years. So I was almost coming back fresh into WA and understanding, particularly in this media industry, the audiences, what it's like out there, what they're interested in. So it was a big learning curve for me, but it's been enjoyable, and hopefully we've kind of cracked the code, but we're always evolving here.
Always. But it's a very hard market for Channel 9. It's a 7-town. They have a lot of heritage there. So you're in a good position of being the battler, the underdog, and you've actually been making some inroads, haven't you?
Yeah, so I'll just say, we work really hard here, and we've got a wonderful team, going from the editors to our people in the control room, as you've worked numerous times in the control room, media exchange, our master control areas, to the reporters, presenters, sports department, you name it, and the graphics department. But basically, we have worked so solidly as a team, and I've been back again, as I said, for 13 years, and it has changed so much. It has been a battle, but we have made such amazing inroads. We now have the fastest growing 6 p.m. news in the country. Our TV total audiences are the fastest growing, I think, compared to anyone else. And what's interesting as well is that we're really making an impact on the younger demographic, the younger generation of 16, 39-year-olds. So I think we've really invested not just in our TV medium, but also looking at online, how we can evolve in that realm, with our 9 Now app, our social media such as TikTok. We're on TikTok. Can you believe it? We are on TikTok.
So are we, Trace. It's an amazing platform, actually.
We've got, we've got to get with the program, isn't it? Because that's how the world is these days. And all we can say is that we really thank our loyal viewers, but also the new ones who are coming to watch our news, because every day we make it our priority to make sure we get it right and we deliver what we need to deliver for our viewers.
That's fantastic. I really love that. Before I move on to the special, just tell me about the difference between the East Coast and the West Coast, because I always hear, and I've been to Perth a couple of times, I really liked it as a visitor, but I'm
glad you did.
No, I did. And we've got Perth viewers of McKnight Tonight in Perth. Thank you very much.
Yes.
But Melbourne and Sydney have this rivalry, but Perth sort of feels, it comes across to me that the people over in Western Australia see themselves as very different to the East Coast of Australia. Is that fair, or is that a stereotype?
I think it's pretty fair. I think we are, the most isolated city in the world, I suppose. And there is, I guess, that mentality in some ways of, us versus the rest of the country, because, basically we're on our own here in the West. And, it was very telling. For example, the Perth Bears launching here, the new NRL team, which is going to be really tough for that club because it is such an AFL state. You know what I mean? So it's like almost, the East is coming over here with their sporting code. But I think it's fantastic because we are one nation, and we need to work together. I feel like I still have my love for Sydney, so I can't really talk about the rivalry as much. I do see it, but I'm not taking part in it. I still love my Sydney family, so but
Well,
there is that competitiveness there, you know.
I've extended your Sydney family to the Gold Coast, and we love you too, Trace. Now, tell me about this special, because it's celebrating 60 years of Channel 9 in Perth. And
Yeah.
as I mentioned at the beginning of this, I love the fact we seem to have forgotten in television to celebrate our achievements, but 60 years broadcasting, that's a big achievement. What can we expect in this special?
Yeah, and it's really lovely that you said that. When I was listening to you when you're doing your intro, and it is true. We kind of forget to celebrate these wonderful milestones, and it's been so wonderful to see the team here at 9 Perth. It's led by our executive producer here, Peter Brennan, who is one of our execs here at 9 Perth, and he really drove this 90-minute special. It really is a trip down memory lane, all the way back to 1965, where black and white. That's what it was on TV those days, back in those days. And then we, everything appears in colour. But we also chat to some people who have been around, former presenters and that sort of stuff. So we speak to the likes of John Burgess, and it's great to hear his thoughts on his time here at Channel 9. We also speak with Terry Willisey. He was actually in town visiting, and Michael Thompson, who I co-host the special with, our wonderful 6 p.m. chief presenter. He had a great interview with Terry Willisey and all those memories he had here at Channel 9, and also the likes of Jenny Seaton as well. So it's interesting to have a look back and also see the different shows that were produced back in the day compared to what you see now.
Yeah, I feel like I should be having a cigarette while we do this interview, because that's how they used to. I mean, they wouldn't be able to do live crosses like this, but they'd be having a cigarette. So, yeah, Tracy, tell me.
Yeah, in the newsroom, right? With those old school phones like this. It's not this, it's this. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, kids don't
really
get that.
No, they don't.
Picking up the phone,
they,
I guess do that now. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. But it's so lovely to see, and we've the team here have worked really hard to put it all together. A lot of archival footage, as you can imagine, to sift through and pick out sort of the best bits. We not only visit like the programs, but also big news and current affairs.
Great
Stories here in Perth and WA. Another special thing that has been collaborated with the Perth Symphony Orchestra.
Now, I wanted to ask about this because I was reading the press release and saw this, and it's really piqued my interest. What is happening with the Perth Symphony Orchestra? I'm interested.
They've done this magnificent masterpiece of a medley, and it has our 9 News theme, a current affair, wide world of sports, a lot of our local programming here, which was Just Add Water, The Garden Gurus, which still broadcasts to this day, and a few other shows as well. And they've done this. They've made it this masterpiece of about, I can't remember how long it is, but it's just wonderful. And we've trickled some historical footage over the top as well, but they've done all this for us. They've collaborated it, they've conducted it, and they've recorded it just for us. And it's one of a kind, I think. I don't think they've worked with any other media organisation to do something like this. So watch out for that, because it's I got goosebumps watching it, and I've watched it several times now.
Oh, fantastic. And before I let you go, you've had a big announcement this week.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you forgot that you're pregnant, have you?
There'll be a little one coming along, part of the Channel 9 family. So, we're very excited, and we can't wait to meet our little baby. So she is due in October.
Oh, I was about to ask, do you know the sex?
Yes.
But it's a girl, is it?
Yes, it's a girl. It's a girl. So she'll be due in October, and she'll be watching the news at home with Mum a lot, I think.
Can't wait to meet Roberta. That's a nice name.
Oh, Roberta. That's cute. Thank you. We've been struggling for names, so thanks, Roberta.
There you go. Well, look, the special is called Celebrating 60 Years, Channel 9 Perth, and you can see it on 9 now. Tracy Vo, you are a legend. You know I love you very, very much. Thank you for joining us on McKnight tonight.
So much love for you, Rob. Thanks so much for having us, and thank you for plugging this special. We are so excited about it, and we hope the viewers resonate with it as well.
It's the random life shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random life shot of the day.
Our random live shot of the day takes us to Brooks Falls in Alaska's Katmai National Park. It's the best place in the world to watch brown bears feasting on salmon as they swim upstream to spawn. Weather-wise, it's a mostly cloudy day with a top of 14 degrees after a low of 11. Now, when I was looking at this live cam earlier today, it was in colour. It's nighttime now, and that's why it's gone to night vision. But I didn't see any bears. I've seen some bears on the pre-recorded stuff, but I could see I could see the salmon jumping up. Now, hopefully, I'm looking here. Bear with. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I promise you, just a moment ago, there was salmon jumping up. Oh no, we're not going anywhere. We're going to stay here all night until we see some salmon jumping up. There we go. Did you see it? Fantastic. All right, let's go to some feedback that you're sending in to McKnight tonight. And Dylan says, someone get Rob the vodka. Yes. Dylan, thank you so much. You get me, Dylan. I promise you, if it had been vodka, I would have been licking it up. Oh, God, I sound like an alcoholic. Over the page we go. Glenn says, Trump being Trump doesn't make it right. He has an international relations obligations to engage with fellow international leaders and especially Australia, given there was pending dialogue around our defence contribution and our part in AUKUS. Trump being Trump is at best neglectful, at worst abandonment of his obligations as US president. Trump being incompetent and inept isn't an excuse to get away with it. Look, Glenn, I think there's a lot of fairness in what you're saying there. I just think the pettiness of trying to blame Albo for the actions of Trump doesn't pass the pub test with me. Over the page we go. What else have we got there? We've got Leah saying, did you see the Allianz bit on Gruen a few weeks ago? Look up what Will Anderson did with their logo. I'll have to have a look out for that, Leah. Thank you for coming into McKnight tonight. We appreciate your feedback. Over the page we go. Jason says, why cut something you don't want people to see and tell the world about it anyway? Well, Jason, the thing I'd say about that is that I don't think the BBC specifically wanted it to get out, but people were in the audience. It was a studio audience and they have talked about it, and that's why this has become a story. I do think the footage should be released and we can make up our own minds, because it's just going to be this thing that he's tarred with the brush by being insensitive and rude and maligned by that, and other people see it as a cover-up. Anyway, over the page we go, and Jimmy says, censoring all comedians and there'll be none left. Take it all with a grain of salt. Don't like a joke, move on. Yes, Jimmy, I couldn't agree more with that. Over the page we go. Travis on YouTube, thank you for watching on YouTube, Travis. We need more people watching on YouTube. He says, one Perth viewer here. Oh, one Perth viewer here. What was the last part of that? Can we go back? One Perth viewer here. Greetings from a very wet Perth. Yeah, it's been rainy over here on the East Coast too, Travis. All right, over the page we go. Lots of feedback coming in tonight. Dylan says, Alaska, ooh la la. Thank you, Dylan. Keep your feedback coming. Just leave your comments in the comments section of the video you're watching, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. And thank you for all your comments. We love to hear from you. All right, it's time to get to our second special guest of the night.
Here comes McKnight tonight.
Well, my next guest is genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met in the industry. Now, I worked with him on Studio 10 during my time there, and we've remained friends ever since. You know him as psychic medium John Edward. I know him as Doctor Who fan John Edward. However you know him, he's here on McKnight tonight, and I spoke to him a little earlier. John, welcome to McKnight tonight.
How are you? It's good to see you. It's good to be here, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. You have always been one of the nicest men. I genuinely mean it that I've ever met in the industry. So
Oh,
thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. It's not the first time you've done something like this. People won't know, but when I had finished with Studio 10, I where I was living in Sydney, out in the suburbs, you actually came out to my house to record an audio interview of McKnight Tonight. You didn't have to do that. That is just the kind of generosity you have. So thank you.
oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And I enjoy doing that conversation as well.
Well, it is a fascinating conversation, and it is available on the McKnight Tonight podcast. But John, let me ask you: do you think your abilities give your life a purpose? And if so, what is that purpose?
I do. I do actually. I feel like everybody has a purpose. And I think the goal is to try to figure out, are we living our purpose? Are we living with intention? I think it became clearer for me when my mom passed in 1989. I didn't intentionally go into this further, but out of need to know that she's okay, that just became part of my I had this ability, and my focus went more towards communicating with the afterlife. But I think everybody can find out what their purpose is. I think that they can do that by looking at their astrological chart. I don't do that, but if you find somebody that can do your astrology, they can help you if you're living your purpose, if you're living your truth. Um, but for me, yeah, it's a resounding yes.
So, what is it that a psychic medium gives other people? Is it a sense of comfort? Is it knowledge about the future? When I ask about that purpose, what are you doing for other people?
I'm hoping that my ability to bridge the physical world and the non-physical world helps them to know that there's a survival of consciousness, that love never dies, that our loved ones and friends are still with us. But I'm hoping that I'm getting them to become a seeker, because if you become a seeker and an explorer, that leads to discovery, that leads to raising your awareness, and then when you have your awareness raised, you can put things into action. So I think being a student is important, being a seeker and learning new things, and not limiting what we know to what we know. And if somebody tells us that we're wrong about something, not to go from being defensive, but do the opposite. Be like, oh, that's interesting, and then try to figure out why they're saying that, and confirm your original, thoughts or beliefs without like a cognitive bias type of a thing. But maybe be surprised that you're going to explore and find new things. I mean, I've done that in the 40 years of doing this. I've had to shift my perspective within the realm of the world that I work in. Like I used to think like as soon as somebody passes, you have to wait 6 to 9 months before you can go get a reading because they need to acclimate to being there. Well, I had to change that because I then started to have people coming through before their family members knew they had even passed.
Oh,
And then that
wow.
would be validated. So now yeah, I started to recognize that it doesn't matter how long someone's gone. It mattered for me as the person. So I got in the way. My personal bias got in the way of what I did. So that's what I mean about you could be good at what you do. You could know what you know, but like any doctor, they need to keep learning. Otherwise, when new things come out, when new things happen, when new breakthroughs in medicine take place, we won't be able to experience that because we're just limited to what we know.
Hmm. It's interesting. You have a legion of fans who love you, but you've also got your detractors. Um, we've talked about this. I'm a
A little bit.
skeptic, right? But
Yeah.
I've got to say, as the executive producer of Studio 10, I am happy to put my reputation on the line and say there was no faking it when you were on the show. Everything that you did, everything that we saw you do with people was all very, very real. And I've said to you, you have made me a believer. How do you deal with the detractors? Why do you think what you do upsets them so much?
Because I think I make them confront realities that they don't want to look at. I think I make them, and I say them. And when I say them, it's people that are more cynical than skeptical. I think skepticism is good. Cynicism is bad. And I think the
Mm.
them is the cynical approach to things. And I think that I become a reflector and a reflection back of things that they don't want to have to review in their own lives. And usually it has to do with where they feel like they lack love or empathy. So they hide that behind the bravado of he's a grifter, that's a fraud, that's a this, that's a that. But in reality, if they really looked at it, it's like, okay, what is it that I'm reflecting back in their lives that they don't want to have to look at? But I also get it because I was that person, not cynical, skeptical. I was skeptical. But I'm also the person that if you have data, evidence, if you see things like you just said, you know, I was just at Channel 10 in Sydney,
Yep.
and when I walked into the building to do the one of the news breaks in the afternoon, it was the studio where I had the meltdown on you, where I was like, "Oh my God," because they had moved the studio from the one that you were just showing up on the
We
screen,
were in
and here I am,
every time you used to come, we were in an enclosed studio, and then we moved out onto the newsroom floor. And you had agreed, because you always came and did readings. We loved it. It rated. It was good TV. We had a great relationship. You did with me, myself, and Studio 10. And then you came and saw it was this big open area, and you did. And I remember you saying you only did it because of our relationship, because otherwise
yep,
you would have just said no.
I would have said I can't do it today. And the reason is that in my mind I had done the show so often, and I knew the studio, I knew where we were going, and I knew it was encapsulated. It was like one closed off space, and that means it was limited to the people that were there,
Hmm.
whether it be the camera guys or the control room. It's just one enclosed, encapsulated bunch of energy. When we walked onto that new set and everything was open and the newsroom was behind us and there was like people walking around, that now meant that any of the people that were in earshot, could wind up reading. And I don't know if you remember, but I wound up reading for an executive that was like on the second floor that was watching, and
I
they wouldn't
remember
come down
distinctly. And they
because I
wouldn't
remember your
take part
expression.
of
Like
it. They
you were
wouldn't
like,
take part, but then wanted
"Yep,
your insights after we had finished shooting. And I'm just like, oh, no, no, no. You had your chance.
yeah, yeah." But thank you, Robert, for
Uh,
validating the experience and for validating that that it was real.
It was real. And we saw that. There were times too when it might be a producer that you fed off or someone down in makeup. And we had to own that, because I know that when I post this video individually, I'm going to get comments saying, how can you put that charlatan up? And I'm going to tell you again, all I can say is what I saw as someone who is skeptical, that what I saw was real. What you tapped into was this truth about what people, that there things came out during your readings in that studio that you didn't even want to go as far as they wanted you to go, because you were concerned about what would become public. And we had
Correct.
a lady who completely was happy for you to open up, and I think we took a commercial break, and you were able to just confirm with her how far she was willing to go. And so I come back to it time and time again. You can disbelieve, that's fine, but people like to use the word charlatan with you, and I don't like that,
Mm,
because you are one of the most honest and genuine people I've ever met, and it does not sit
thank
well
you.
with me when people use that term.
Well, I tell people I have only a limited amount of like opportunities when it comes from them. So I'm either crazy, like delusional, I think I can do this, or I'm this really heinous individual who's taking advantage of people, right? Those are the options that they give me.
Yep.
So I guess I'm crazy. That's the place I come to.
Well, what would
It's
you be
okay,
without this gift?
It's well, I would probably be still working in healthcare. My background is in healthcare. I started on the clinical side, working in a laboratory. And then I moved into when I got my degree. I'm a few credits short of a master's degree in public health and healthcare administration. Um, I probably would have went back to the clinical side because I preferred the clinical side over the administration side. I found that boring. But I think I
So
would be
you were
doing that,
helping
and
people.
probably something, yeah, healing, something that would be helping or healing. Yeah, that's it. I didn't even think about it that way, but yep.
You're very popular here in Australia. What do you do with your time when you're not here? I assume you're doing tours around the world, but Australia can't get enough of you. So what else do you do?
Most of the time I'm in the States. I could still be touring like different countries like Canada and the UK and South Africa. I've kind of dialed back my touring quite a bit because I launched a platform called evolveplus.tv.
Yep.
So on evolveplus.tv, I get a chance to kind of go across the globe, and it's like a Netflix and like Facebook had a baby for psychic stuff, but it's like mindfulness and astrology, and there's like 15 to 20 live streams a month that take place there with verified creators. It's like a really cool, safe space for people to come. It's like void of politics, void of divisive conversations, a safe haven for people. So anybody that's into this subject matter, not just me, but like just the subject matter, it's a great place for you to check out. You can go to evolveplus.tv.
All right. Well, we will certainly do that. Your family have certainly been making headlines, or certainly getting themselves in the spotlight. Your daughter Olivia, last time we spoke, she was breaking out as an actress, but her career's really taking off, isn't it?
It has. She's made quite the name for herself in various different ways. Like she's just highly creative. That's her from being on a show that she starred on for 5 years called Better Things.
Mm.
Um, she's done a number of appearances. She just filmed a movie and she's getting ready to film another movie, and she's completing her first novel, all while singing and dancing. So it's like she's I don't know, multi hyphenated. I don't know. She's busy. She's very busy and highly creative. Very proud of her.
Well,
And also an amazing astrologer.
okay, because I was about to ask, I thought it was Justin, your son, who you said has the gift, but she does as well, does she?
They both. My son is in medical school. He just completed his, didactic studies, and he's getting ready to do like rotations part of medical school. Astrologer, like he can full on do like astrological readings. There they are. And Olivia is also an astrologer. They both can do charts. I don't do astrology. So as a psychic parent, I kind of forced them to learn astrology so that they had something that I didn't have, and they bring that to the equation. So I actually go to them when I want to know stuff. I'll be
Hmm.
like, "Hey, what does this mean?" I see that Uranus is going into Gemini, and Gemini is in my seventh house. I'm my eighth house. I'm like, I don't have anything in the eighth house. What does that mean? And then they tell me. So it's kind of cool.
So does that mean they're not embarrassed by what dad does? Because my kids certainly are.
Oh no. No, not at all. They're very understanding. They don't see it as what I do. They see it more as a way to live. Like this is an energetic belief system, which is kind of like where I'm at with my clients now. Like where I'm at with my clients is to get them to evolve with the information that they can glean either from me or from themselves. Like whether they get their numerology done, their astrology done, they have a reading. I want them to evolve with that information. So I got my kids to look at life through an energetic lens, empower them, enlighten them. But that's what my goal is for my clients. So they're definitely not embarrassed because it's a language that they use in their lives every day.
That's fantastic. I mentioned how much you love Australia. You are coming back. Let's have a look at the tour dates because you are going everywhere, man. It's Sydney, Newcastle, Cairns, Canberra, Darwin, Brisbane, Gold Coast. I've already said that we have to catch up while you're on the Gold Coast. We've got Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, and Geelong. Is there any difference between Aussie audiences and people you meet around the world?
It's really hard to say this, but I like the energy in Australia, the energy of the crowds that people come. It's big, it's bold, it's honest. I kind of feel like it's fun and it's welcoming. Like that has been that way for 2 decades, and that's why
Mm.
I make the trip. It's why I like to be here. Like most of these interviews that I'm doing on this media tour, I could do from home. But I like
Yes.
to be here to do them. I want to come into the studios. Like I want to interact while I'm here in the energy of it. And because it's a really phenomenal place. And then I get, negative emails from other countries like, it's been 7 years since you've been here, but you've been to Australia 6 times. Like, Canada's like right above New York. How come you're not coming here? It's just different. I mean, I go, but it's different. It's just very, very different. So it is a mutual appreciation, a mutual kind of reception, to use an astrological term.
So do you do individual readings for people? Or is that's too
Sure.
time consuming?
No, no, I do. I absolutely do that, but I don't do it as the main focus of what I do.
Mm.
On Evolve, I do that. every month is somebody that's getting, a reading from me on the app when I go live. Uh, but yeah, I can't do readings while I'm touring. So if I'm touring anywhere, I can't see clients then.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, for more information about John's tour dates, just go to johnedward.net. John, you know I love talking to you, and we have a lot of Doctor
Same.
Who to talk about off camera.
We do indeed.
Because I don't think people want to hear us
It's as
talk
hard
about
as we
Doctor
go.
Who. And it's funny. Everyone says to me, "Oh, John Edward, John Edward." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I like talking to him about Doctor Who, not all the other stuff."
It's like, let the psyche stuff out of the way. Let's get into the TARDIS. I do like the TARDIS blue theme that you're going with. I like it. I like the
Yeah,
fact
it's
that
very much. Blue is my
colors,
theme,
right?
TARDIS blue. John Edward, thank you for joining us. I will see you on the Gold Coast when you come up here at the end of the year. Thanks for joining us on McKnight Tonight.
Thanks. Thank you.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
What a great guy. Seriously, I'm a big fan, and as I said, I will validate everything he does. I've seen it firsthand, and I am a skeptic. All right, let's get to some feedback coming through. Over the page we go. Oh, Carlotta, under her Facebook name, I guess, of Casa Byron. Great show as always, Carlotta AM. I'm going to share a secret with you. It's great to have Carlotta watching. She visited the McKnight Mansion today. She came for a little special project we're working on. And so she came to the house. And I always think, so I live in the suburbs on the Gold Coast, in the northernmost part. And I always think, I said to her when I was on the phone to her, I said, "Carlotta, once you're in your feathers and everything," and she did, she got dressed up as Carlotta. And I said to her, "I'm going to parade you out and about in the streets," because the neighbours wouldn't believe we have the iconic Carlotta coming to our house. Anyway, it's just surreal. We love you, Carlotta. Thank you for watching. Dylan says, "Double guest tonight." Love it. Yes, Dylan. We took a week off, so we did a couple of guests. I always like to, give you value for money, for the no money that you're all paying. Jason says, "Studio 10 brought a sense of community to television that will disappear when the project finishes next week." Look, Jason, I agree with that to a point. I think Studio 10 was a community. I don't know that the project was the same kind of community, but if it was for you, fabulous. Over the page we go. Thank you, Jasmine. And we've got Andrew saying, "I had the privilege of being in the audience and I want to share my personal perspective. What I witnessed was genuine, unscripted and deeply moving. It wasn't rehearsed or polished. It was real. There was a raw honesty in the room that can't be replicated, and I feel fortunate to have experienced it firsthand." And this is the point I make, Andrew, as well, that I am a skeptic and I would be the first to call it out. But what John Edward did felt very real to me, and it conflicts me and it confuses me, and I feel fortunate enough that he will hear me on that. And I don't BS him. I don't tell him what he wants to hear. I tell it from my actual perspective. And if there was fakery going on with John Edward, I would be the person to know. I was the person in charge of Studio 10. I was running it. So if there was fakery, I would have to be in on it, and there wasn't. All right, Justine says, "What a great interview with John. I love the way he talks about his ability, not power. A true reflection of the great man that he is. I could listen to him all day and night. Having been in the audience a lot of times, I can say he is amazing to watch." And I'll just read this one. Jason says, "Definitely a different community feeling for sure." And Jimmy says, "A Carlotta project. I'm intrigued." Can't say too much, Jimmy. Can't say too much. Well, thank you for your company tonight. We will be back next Saturday at 8 p.m. Tell your friends, tell your neighbours, tell your wife, and make sure they all stream on. Share the video and help us out. We're trying to get those YouTube numbers up. Once I get past 3,000 viewing hours, we can actually go to the next level on YouTube. So watching on YouTube will really help. All right. Thank you for your company. What will happen next week? Who will we have? I do not know. But for now, it's good night from McKnight.
McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. It's good night from McKnight Tonight.